Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's boardzy. This past weekend was a pretty big one in esports with both Valorant and CS2 wrapping up major events. So I'm going to be looking at the mice used by Team Vitality and PRX to find the objective best options for the respective games. And yeah, I'm going to start off with CS2. Vitality was up against a team called the Mongols, who were legitimate Mongolians who were only running the GPX. So there's not much to cover there. It could just be an availability thing. At first, I didn't know they were legitimately Mongolian. But yeah, this is Apex. He was running the Vaxi E1 fluorescent green, and the mousepad, I believe it is the Xtrfy GPZ1. A lot of the Vitality guys were running Xtrfy mousepads, which are not what you generally think of, but it seemed to work well. And yeah, Xtrfy is a team sponsor, but it's not like they put a gun to their head saying you have to use our mousepad. This is a setup that I would rate pretty highly if you're just looking for a high feeling of control from your pad, and then just all around one of the best, highest quality ergo implementations on the market, the E1. But it's not like the E1 is just objectively better than the EC, because there was another player, Flamez, who was using the EC2CW, and I believe another Xtrfy GP4 mousepad. So the Xtrfy mousepad supremacy, I mean, maybe it's a real thing now. Yeah, I can't say this is the most unique setup ever, and EC2 and a control pad is pretty run-of-the-mill for CS, but, you know, it's tried and true for a reason. We have another Vaxi and Xtrfy mousepad combo. I find it interesting how no two players are using the same Xtrfy mousepad. This is the new XEV2 from Vaxi, which is just a shape that I don't love, but clearly it's like a lower profile, similar size alternative to the GPX. And yeah, he's using the Vitality Xtrfy GP5 collab, so that is the fastest of the Xtrfy mousepads we've seen so far, but still not like Artisan Zero speed. And yeah, my main observation from the setup so far is that the lightweight train really has not taken over. Like, CS players do not want something considerably lighter than a GPX2. And this is shown once again from Zywoo, last but not least, who of course is using his own collab mouse that recently released with Pulsar. And it even comes with like a weight that you can put in the mouse, which I imagine he uses if it's his mouse, and he opted for an obscure feature like that. And he is also using his own mousepad, which was released under his own brand. It was honestly very similar in quality and feeling to like an inked gaming pad. It had like a natural rubber base, not the highest quality feeling, but obviously fucking Zywoo is winning a major with it. So what can I say? And yeah, I know I said last but not least with Zywoo, but there was a fifth player, Ropz, who they just didn't show his setup once. You can go through the entire stream, and there will be times where you see his desk, but you can just never see the mouse. So he's apparently using a Death Adder V3 Hyperspeed, which is very odd. Like, why wouldn't you use a Death Adder V3 Pro and supposedly a Vaxi PA? So he's a bit outside of the norm. Yeah, in conclusion, we can see that 4 of the 5 Team Vitality players were using ergos, and everybody was on a controlled cloth pad just at varying points in the speed spectrum. So that seems like it is the best option for CS. Perhaps you could go for the Zywoo mouse, like a Razer ergo, perhaps a new one that's coming up. Keep watching the video. A Vaxi ergo. So yeah, you can obviously perform perfectly fine with ambis. It's just an interesting observation. Super fast pads, on the other hand, I just don't think there's a single example of a CS player using like a Raiden, a Hien, a glass pad in like actual high level play. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I'm going to be moving on to Valorant now. The Vitality guys, they get a setup seal of approval. Even though I'm not like the biggest fan of Xtrfy pads, they're clearly just like solid, reliable cloth options. And yeah, now moving on to Valorant, PaperX took on Fnatic, and I know I said I wouldn't focus much on the losers, but they actually did give us some peripheral bangers, including the upside down Artisan Zero with a Maya X. A few of the players were using the Maya X, the unreleased Razer mouse that has been seen throughout like many tournaments now, and another Artisan pad, the Launda Riz Doodles pad, just like very surprising stuff, along with a Kurosan pad, a Saturn Pro, so very based mouse pads. And you guys know that my motto is the team with the more inspired peripherals usually wins, but in this case, I mean, they just didn't win, but PaperX did have some pretty good peripherals as well. Yeah, first and foremost, we have Jinggg, who is using the G-Wolf's Hottie S Plus, easily the lightest and just most unique mouse choice in either of the events that happened this weekend, and an orange Artisan Zero that really seems to be more popular than the black one amongst pros. And Forsaken was using the Maya X. I'll throw up a higher quality picture, and I believe the Saturn Pro. And yeah, I don't even think it's a stigma at this point. Like, Valorant players are definitely more open to trying to like min-max their peripherals using quicker pads, lighter mice, where CS, it just seems to be very stuck in their ways, and you know, you can't really knock it. But but on Paper Rex, there were a few more basic setups. Something was using just a GPX2, along with the GSRSE Rouge, which is very similar to his setup from 2 years ago when I made a similar video, which was a GPX and like the Yuki Aim like cloth control pad. So in those 2 years, he has gotten a Zowie mousepad. I swear he released his own pad with Pulsar. I guess he does not use that. And that looks like a Pulsar keyboard. I didn't really cover keyboards too much because I just feel like it doesn't matter anymore. Like almost everybody's on a Wooting. If they're not, it's something that performs practically the same as a Wooting. And yeah, next up is going to be Devi, who is running a GPX along with a SteelSeries Dex, not a Logitech Dex. Some of you may be thinking I misspoke, but that is a SteelSeries mousepad from well over a decade ago. I remember last time I covered his peripherals, I said it was a QCK, and people were like, you fool, it's obviously not a QCK. He's the only person I've ever seen use a SteelSeries Dex, and, you know, God bless, it seems to work, but it's not at the top of my recommendations. And yeah, the last player is going to be PatMen, who was relegated to this like dark corner, this 180p camera. I can't imagine a reason why. Is it because he's Filipino? I can be better, Riot, be best, like Melania Trump says. But he was using the NPO1S, and there's actually an interesting story that comes with this, and an artisan pad that to me looks like a coffee brown Raiden. Pro Settings says it's a Hien Soft, so it's some like speedier artisan pad. He is undeniably based, and he actually had this interaction with Vaxi where he said he lost his mouse. He was at the major, he needed a new one, and Vaxi managed to hook him up. So that is what customer service looks like. And yeah, in my opinion, it's all said and done, pro Valorant players do have better peripheral taste, or at least one that lines up more closely with my recommendations. Like from both teams, you see multiple artisan pads, just lighter mice, different brands. And I will say there was a lot of brand diversity. I had the research department conduct a final tally, and surprisingly, Vaxi won out with 3 mice. There were 2 GPXs. These are among the 10 winners, and then 1 of each mouse from the following brand. So there's a lot of mouse diversity. And yeah, it just goes to show that we are at a point in the mouse game where there is not one brand that just has an objective edge on the others. Vaxi obviously is the most popular in this very small sample size. And I mean, I have been singing their praises, like when it comes to build quality, click feeling, really second to none. Their wireless is excellent as well. So it makes sense. Like they make really high quality products. Of course, if you prefer something lighter, then you can opt for a mouse from like Lamzu, G-Wolves. Pulsar has some light stuff as well. One thing that always surprises me is the lack of endgame gear mice used in pro play. I guess one of the reasons is like the OP1 is just really small. That's just not a shape pros gravitate towards, but it's like, I don't know, you'd expect to see endgame gear in some of these top competitions. Maybe I just love the XM2 more than most people do. But yeah, if you were to limit your mouse search to something from these companies, I think you could get a very high quality, very satisfactory option depending on your preferences, but there are of course many others, more budget options and so forth. Make sure to leave a like and sub if you enjoyed this video. Any questions, comments, concerns, let me know down below. And yeah, I'm also surprised that no Viper V3 Pros were used among the winners, but yeah, that's gonna be all. Peace out.